Welcome to another episode of Our City. I'm your host, Martinus Geleynse. We have an exciting show for you today. Our first interview is going to be with Tim Richard, who's the VP of Sales and one of the founders of Weever Apps, a big success story out of Hamilton, based in Max Innovation Park. And then second up will be an interview with Drewitt, the Executive Director of Hamilton's Downtown BIA. So stick around. This is Our City. Welcome to Our City. I'm sitting here with Tim Richard. He's the VP of Sales of Weever Apps. Weever Apps is surprisingly young. It feels like they've been around for a long time, but it's only 18 months. So we're going to talk to Tim, find out a bit about the history of the company and where it's going. So Tim, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Now Weever Apps, you were telling me before we started recording, is only 18 months old.
That's right.
It feels like it's been a part of Hamilton for much longer because I think I hear the name everywhere. So tell us, how did you get started with Weever Apps? Because you're one of the co-founders.
Yeah, I am. My business partner and I, Steve McBride, we had met and found two founders of the technology who spent a year in their basements pounding on the keyboard and coming up with this amazing code technology. And when they finally had something to produce, they went to the innovation factory in the McMaster Innovation Park and said, we have something we think is pretty interesting, and they agreed, but they needed the business expertise, they needed cash to finance the business and to launch a company and to run a business. And that's where Steve and I came in. We met them and we had some discussions, how could this work, and we agreed that this is an amazing opportunity that we couldn't let go. So yeah. We had both had jobs at the time, but we thought, yeah, this is something exciting that we have to do.
And so what were you doing before that then?
I've always been management and marketing. I've been vice president of both private and public companies.
Okay.
So I had the expertise of product and sales and management and marketing. And that's exactly the expertise that the original technology founders needed to launch.
And this is what the Innovation Factory does, is connect talent with opportunity and then opportunity with cash and so on. So what happened then? Because you had the four of you in a room, you said, hey, let's make this business go.
Yeah, from there it was, so we need a business plan. First of all, once we decided to do it, we said, okay, we need a business plan, a marketing plan. Who are we going to go after? And we were looking at the technology, and we wanted to capitalize on their initial intent was to help small business and not-for-profits have an affordable solution for mobile, because mobile is half of what everyone does digitally. Mm-hmm. You know, the internet on desktop computers are only half of it. The other half is mobile now. Yeah. So we realized but what happened is, as soon as we launched, we realized we had something really special, because we were suddenly talking to the biggest companies in the world immediately, and we thought we have maybe something even bigger than we thought. Yeah. So we came up with a new marketing and business plan, and that's why we've been able to scale in over 60 countries already.
Wow. And I guess that's the thing with the technology field, is you can't necessarily aim for, B or C. You might just jump right to M or Q. You can move pretty quickly. Like you said, it's scaled very quickly in a very short time. Now, a pivotal point in the beginning of your company was Lair,
yes.
Right? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I can't say enough about Lair and the Innovation Factory and Chamber of Commerce, what they did for us. As soon as we launched our company, they invited us to, would you be interested in participating? It's a Dragon's Den style show, and would you be Shark's Tank, would you be interested in doing it? And we knew we'd be so busy starting a company, we didn't think we had time. I think initially we decided, no, we don't have time. Then we really thought about it, and we thought, well, if we pull triple overtime, we could pull this off. And we're so glad we did, because we won the entire grand prize for the first annual Lair. And it brought us such tremendous exposure, including Pioneer Energy gas stations sitting there that night and emailing us from the table after we won and saying, we have to meet. And we're proud to say that after a year of development, they're actually in the App Store with our app, Pioneer Energy, and it shows all their stations in real time with pricing in real time. So it's pretty exciting, and we've gotten so much opportunity from Lair. Mm-hmm. We were able to go back and speak as the returning winners this year, and it was so much fun. And there's so much great startup talent in this city that it's inspiring to be at. So I encourage everyone to go to the future one in this October.
So you hadn't even left the stage before you won the prize, and you already started bringing in work.
Yeah, essentially.
How do you market something like Weever Apps? How do you sell this? Is it primarily business to business, or is this also to individuals at home?
Yeah, I mean, the apps themselves are generally, they can be a paid app in the App Store, but generally they are free for the customer's users, so it's a way to get their product marketing and branding quickly out to the marketplace. So it's free for their users. For our business strategy, getting the business from our customers, it's a lot of networking, internet marketing, and a lot of connections through the city and people we know, and the business that we have already landed referring us to other large companies, and we do a lot of business that way.
Yeah.
We also have a lot of developers around the world using our technology to help build their own apps as well.
Now, a lot of your products are large and for other businesses, and you're building apps for major companies, but now you've also released a project or product which is specifically targeted to individuals and people who want to do it themselves. Can you tell us about that?
Sure, yeah. That's called our App Builder product, and it allows anyone, a marketer, a brand manager, without any programming experience, to build their own app online, again, without any programming experience at all, and launch it instantly. So within 30 minutes, they can build and launch their own app. And we did that because when we met and built these large, custom, sophisticated apps for these large companies, all these marketers had the same need set. They needed the ability to produce something quickly. They have an event this weekend or a new product launch. They don't want to have interference from their IT department saying it's going to cause security issues. And we had to give them that control and leverage to build them themselves that's independent of their IT systems. So that product is for everyone, product managers, even personal branding that want to have their own app for their friends to bring in their social and Twitter and Facebook. And it's one central place of management for all that information. Contact me now, bios, resumes, and so it can scale to a lot of different areas, but it is primarily marketed to marketers to help with their business.
Yeah. It makes it that much more accessible, I guess, for people to get their own app and that sort of technology.
That's right, and allows us as a company to scale, and that truly is a scalable product worldwide, and allows us to be a truly international company with scalability, and not a $1 million company, but a $500 million company, because we're in a unique window where no one's quite doing it the way we're doing that, and we have something quite unique.
Now, you mentioned the international scale of your company. You said over 60 countries in 18 months. That's pretty impressive. It'd be almost hard to travel that many countries in that many months, but you're also very local.
Yes.
Can you speak to that?
Yeah, we're proud of our beginnings here and our heritage. I mean, my business partner, Stephen McBride, and I, we're based here. We grew up in Hamilton. I've lived around North America, but I've returned to Hamilton about 10 years ago, and so glad I did. I mean, what's happening in the city is amazing. But we believe in the foundations and the roots of Hamilton and how it's grown and how the tech sector is really becoming a place. Hamilton's being a place to be.
And McMaster Innovation Park plays a pretty key role in that then.
It does. We see a lot of activity coming through, and that's how we're able to partner with a lot of people. So being part of the community, we believe in giving back. We want to win in our own backyard, so we have a lot of phenomenal apps we've launched just in the city alone, like Leona Station, Leona Gardens, Pioneer Energy, that I mentioned, and many others, McMaster University, Mohawk. There's so much we're doing right here in the city, and we like to give back. And so we work on initiatives to use our technology to give back to the community, to the place that supports.
Yeah. And now you mentioned that you've done an app for the Downtown Dundas BIA.
Yes.
So what would a BIA do with an app?
Well, it's great because it allows their customers and people visiting to the area, they have bus tours all the time. So maybe a bus tour, they've never been to Dundas before. It's such a quaint, charming town. I mean, you can go through, and before they go, they can see all the stores they want to view. They can go on a walking tour and plan out where they're going to be going and see the kind of stores they want to shop at. And they pass by the restaurant and say, oh, wow, well, in the app, I noticed they had this menu. I want to book a reservation now. And I'll go there for lunch. And, oh, I didn't get to these 3 stores after they finished, and say, go back to the app and say, I'm going to go back to those 3 stores. So it really increases foot traffic, exposure, and revenue for the businesses.
Yeah. So just in 20 seconds, because we're almost out of time, what's next for Weever Apps?
Next for us is the continued scalability of our app builder to allow people to build their own apps online, continue to work with these large corporations to meet their needs because they're desperate for a solution, which we have.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, I wish you all the best, and thank you so much for coming on Our City.
Good, thanks for having me.
Thank you.
A lot of fun.
Making it more walkable and feeling more comfortable, and place-making elements like art and cafes.
The set for Our City provided by Hanson Lubers, located at 144 James Street North in downtown Hamilton. Welcome back to Our City. I'm your host, Martinus Geleynse, and I'm sitting here with Kathy Drewitt, who's the Executive Director of the Downtown Hamilton Business Improvement Area. Kathy, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So tell us first of all, because a lot of people may not be familiar with the concept of the BIAs in Hamilton, what is a BIA or a Business Improvement Area?
Well, it's a designated area of a downtown, mostly commercial areas that are wanting to help promote themselves and beautify the particular area of a city. So it's built into the Municipal Act of the Province of Ontario that gives each municipality the ability to create a BIA. And then when there is willingness from the business owners and property owners to actually create one, they establish it through a bylaw that the municipality will approve. So that means that each property owner and business owner inside that boundary is taxed over and above their property taxes to beautify the area, promote the area. And we talk to our property owners that it's really the only tax that they are able to control, because they have a say at our annual general meetings and our board meetings about how we spend that money.
Yeah. And now, in the Downtown BIA, what are your boundaries?
Okay, so we go from McNabb Street, where the bus terminal is, to Mary Street, and from Wilson to Hunter. So we encompass all of the property owners. There's 460 businesses and 170 property owners within that area.
So you represent a lot of people then. Now I wanted to ask you a few questions about downtown, because you are downtown every day, and this is very much your area. So there's so many issues right now, and because it's a big city, the downtown is the hub, everything seems to somehow come across your desk. I mean, we could talk about LRT, we could talk about casinos, we could talk about money marts, we could talk about two-way streets, we could talk about everything. But let's start with LRT. The Downtown BA has done a lot of work on the LRT file. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, we were part of the LRT resource committee that had been started up by the city when they first got the big move paperwork and the intensification paperwork from the places to grow reports from the province. So they had to start somewhere and look at where does LRT fit and how does it develop, and really, is it a transportation project or is it an economic development project? So we easily determined very early on that it was an economic development catalyst, and the routes that they chose through the system of research and development of the lines, the A line and the B line, seemed to intersect right at King and James in my BIA. And so we had to do a lot of work early on with the proposals to find out what businesses felt like about the LRT proposals and what will it look like. And it really is interesting to go back to see the pictures on my wall in my office where you've got HSR transit buses and trains that used to be in downtown Hamilton. They took all the rail lines out, and now it seems like we're going in that direction again. But it was a simple system back then that worked, and so I think it's really interesting that we are going back. But I will tell you a story that was very interesting when Jill Stevens and I were walking the streets to explain what LRT will mean to the businesses on King Street. Many of them are mom and pop operations, they're very small operations, and a lot of them have ethnic backgrounds that are not Canadian. So they come from other parts of the world where LRT is a really accepted mode of transportation. And so when Jill and I were going around to talk to them, they're saying, oh, when is it coming? This is great, this is fantastic. We'd love to see it. It's been a positive reaction all along King Street in my BIA. So when I took that experience to the LRT steering committee and the meetings, it was more on a positive side that says, okay, this is going to be an economic engine for us. They've got to tweak a few things in terms of where do the stations go and what does the route look like and what's the priority.
Yeah.
But the sooner the better in terms of my BIA members, because they see it as a real economic.
Interesting. And in your BIA right now, there are a number of major developments that are happening. One of them has been proposed by Wilson Blanchard, which is quite a severe or massive complex, if you will. And they've talked about tearing down part of the street wall. In your position, how do you find yourself balancing that heritage aspect with the opportunity for new growth?
That's a challenge, certainly, but I think that one of the things that you have to look at is the Wilson Blanchard proposal that we're looking at right now for the South Lake of King is all part of a Gore Master Plan and the initiation around what is the Gore going to look like in 10 to 15 years.
Yeah.
And so I think when you look at the master plan and the revitalization of Gore Park and what we're trying to do in terms of the promenade and the pedestrianization of that area, making it more walkable and feeling more comfortable, and place-making elements like art and cafes and things like that, Wilson Blanchard's proposal will develop that concept in conjunction with what the park will look like. Right. And so I have every confidence in Dave Blanchard and his team to come up with the proposal that will complement the street, complement the park, and look at that whole walkability and placemaking as part of the redevelopment of downtown. And I think Dave has that track record of being able to preserve what he can and make it look as beautiful as he can, and also to get the right mix of businesses and office towers and residences, and more parking is what we need. So I'm really confident that he'll be able to pull that off.
And his proposal is in fact right at the corner of King and James, which is also the area that was affected, or the pilot project of the south leg of the Gore pedestrianization. So that was last summer, and was it a success?
Oh my goodness, Martin, it was amazing. The second year of a promenade, first year of the road closure.
Yes.
So when we looked at music in the park and artisans and vendors and people sitting on the road allowance with cafe tables and food trucks and businesses all, I saw, Gino's pizza wrappers and Subway wrappers, and it was just amazing, the response that we got from 25,000 people who work downtown every day and escalate the consumerism that you can see actually happening in the park every day that we did the promenade.
Yeah.
The businesses around there said on promenade days they were busy, on non-promenade days they were not. Even after the promenade was over, after Supercrawl in September, we had people walking down the middle of the street, which is a testament to how successful it was. I still have people in my elevators and going around the businesses saying, are you going to do that thing that you did in Gore Park this summer? Because they loved it. So on that strength, last week we went back to City Council and asked for an escalation of the Gore Master Plan program. They had not put a plan in place for fear that the Connaught wasn't going to go ahead, they might interrupt what was going to happen with the Pan Am Games, and God forbid that we should have a Gore Park that was under construction during 2015. Right. So they said, no, we're not going to do anything until after 2015. But the success of the promenade showed them what it would look like. That was the vision. Yeah. And so we really very quickly got agreement around the council table, which I was quite pleasantly surprised at, that we need a plan. We need a critical path that says we can do some of this this year, we can do some of it next year. We understand that we can't do too much until after Pan Am in 2015, but let's get the place looking as great as possible for all of these visitors in 2015. So I was really encouraged by that, and I'm so happy to see that council already has acted quickly. The committee's staff have acted quickly and are starting to get the ball rolling to find elements of the park that can be.
Well, congratulations on that, because I think that is really exciting. It made, as someone who ate lunch there frequently, I can tell you, it made the place very livable and very it felt like a real community. We had a place to come down to in the middle of the day.
Absolutely.
So, possibility of this, of the Wilson Blanchard project, the Royal Connaught and the redevelopment, possibility of LRT coming as well, and the Promenade. As that changes, how do you see downtown changing as a whole around the Gore Park area?
Part of that is all part of the effort of the city to help build up residential components in our downtown. As we get more residences living in downtown and being our eyes on the street and that kind of thing, I think you'll find that the retail mix will change in downtown. The demand for higher rents and higher retail elements will come into play here. So you won't get as many of the smaller operations of chains and things like that you see in the downtown right now. You'll get a higher end retail mix, you'll get more restaurants. We already have a great mix of restaurants already, and that's to our testament that these are family run restaurants and operations. So I really am confident that you'll start to see a shift in the overall mix of retail and residences in the downtown.
And the BIA is certainly pushing for that and in fact leading the charge to a certain extent, wouldn't you say?
Definitely.
Yeah. Now, Kathy, in just a few seconds, tell us what's coming for the Downtown BIA over the course of the spring and as we lead into the summer in 2013.
Well, certainly we are very busy at the moment planning for the Promenade. We are looking for musicians, for instance, local musicians to be part of our music program in Gore Park. We're looking for artisans and craft vendors and works of art that could be displayed in the park over the summer. So we're looking for that kind of vendor opportunity. Even if you are a business in Hamilton and would like to showcase your business for 1 day or 2 days throughout the summer, we welcome your interest in finding businesses that could do that as well. We also have a very active program of beautification. We put programs in place. We just had a meeting yesterday with residents and businesses along King William for the King William Art Walk, and there's work being done on King William to try and attach more beautification efforts there, as well as more programming on King William, more art pieces being installed and so on. So we're really excited about that.
Exciting.
And then next fall we have our Localicious program, which ties in our desire to match locally grown products and meats and produce with our downtown restaurants, to feature that in a culinary festival called Downtown Localicious Experience for them.
There's always so much going on. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. Thanks for coming on the program. And all the best in your work downtown.
Thank you.
I sort of believe it's a good way to communicate with local government, but then also it can be lost because there is so much going on at once.
Welcome back to Our City. I'm your host, Martinus Geleynse. Today we're in local coffee shops asking people the simple question, do they feel that social media is an effective tool for communicating with local government? So Robert, what do you think?
I sort of believe it's a good way to communicate with local government, but then also it can be lost because there is so much going on at once.
I think that it has the potential to be a tool if it's not ignored by the politicians.
Yes, I do. I think it's a very fast way. Everyone's on Twitter and Facebook these days, so yes, I do think it would be an effective way.
Yeah, I believe it's very helpful for at least showing issues that can get a lot of public support for. So you can put online on your Facebook or on your Twitter some certain issue that is based on what the government, or a certain issue that the government should know about, and you can get people's support. I think there might be some concern that it is, you got a loud minority might be overstating their cause when the silent majority still is in the fringes. But again, with social media, it's a little more. You're not putting your face forward too much, so maybe some people in the background can get more involved than they would normally do because they don't want to show themselves so much.
I think it can be. I think that you have to be very careful, though, not to leave behind people that don't have access or choose not to have access to social media.
So have you yourself used any sort of social media to communicate with the local authorities?
No, actually, I try to avoid it as much as possible.
And why is that?
I find that there's a lot of oversharing going on. I don't think that necessarily what's being used on social media is necessarily the best way to communicate. I'm more likely to write a letter, honestly, or an email, rather than Twitter or Facebook or something of that sort.
I do think it can be.
And do you use it yourself to engage the government?
Yeah, well, and me being in school and stuff, we actually use it a lot within our government in our school too, because we can communicate more. It's an easier way to get everyone's attention, and people, I find, pay attention more when you're on the computer, when you're our age, and then on the news and stuff. So I feel like it is a good tool.
I feel like it can be. I don't know if it's necessarily being used that way right now, but I feel like things like Facebook and Twitter, they can definitely be platforms, especially for young people who are more familiar maybe with that kind of platform than others. It's another way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To communicate, yeah.
Well, I think right now it's not an effective tool because I don't think they're really taking advantage of it, but it's been really great for a lot of businesses. So I think if they approach it in the right manner, that it could become a really effective tool for local government.
Not particularly, no. I can't say that it would be. I kind of don't even really use that much social media myself. I feel like if the government was a little bit more willing to engage, then I feel like a face-to-face kind of thing would be a little bit more useful than social media.
I do, because there's a level of bravery that social media imparts. It's not anonymity. Am I saying that right?
Anonymity?
Yeah, you know what I mean,
Yep.
right? But it just makes it easier, if you're not afraid to ask a question, whereas if you're in an assembly in front of an audience, you might be, you might not get up and, say what you have to say, whereas with social media, a little easier.
That's our show for today. Thank you all for joining us. Our City will be back on March 11th with a brand new episode. Until then, I'm your host, Martinus Geleynse. Have a good night.